as you know, there is a trial going on of the punk-ass leader of the wildly misnamed Oath Keepers, Stuart Rhodes, and 3 or 4 of his henchmen in D.C. They're charged with conspiracy to overthrow the government. And the testimony in this trial so far has been very eye-opening for anyone who's paying attention. Eye-opening in the sense it shows the depth to which there is a movement in this country to destroy this country. And it's being run by white, male, in most cases, extremely well-educated Christian terrorists. And among that leadership is Stuart Rhodes. Stuart Rhodes is a Yale graduate, I think, a former paratrooper. But he is now nothing more, nothing less than a fucking traitor and somebody who would push other people to die or kill. In other words, a scum fuck, just the lowest of the low. But as the New York Times is reporting, on January 6th, after it got dark, and after the pro-Trump mob of filth had been chased away and the police had restored some order to the Capitol building, members of this fucking organization, Oath Keepers, kept talking about their plans to disrupt the certification of the election anyway. Remember, it didn't happen until January 20th, right? I'm sorry, that's the inauguration. It was scheduled to happen on the 6th. What they didn't understand, these creepy fuckers, was that people like Schumer and Pelosi, and yes, even the turtle, Mitch McConnell, were not going to be intimidated by a bunch of let's dress up and pretend we're men scum like the Oath Keepers. But Stuart Rhodes, the leader of this bunch of pigs, wrote on a group text chat, according to testimony now that's coming out in this trial, encouragement for his members to keep on fighting. Because Stuart Rhodes, one thing he didn't understand, apparently, and you understand it and I understand it, is that the leader of this filth in this country, Donald Trump, is at bottom the worst kind of fucking coward. The worst kind of coward. And by that I mean a coward who will throw everybody he fucking knows into the fire in order to save his own ass. He has no belief system, no core of dignity or self-respect. And I don't know why Stuart Rhodes didn't understand that. Come on, Rhodes, you fucker. You're a Yale-educated cretin. You should have understood this. But the listeners of this podcast understood it, and I understand it. Trump is a fucking coward, the lowest of the low. So Stuart Rhodes kept telling his people, oh, don't worry. Trump has really won it. And soon he's going to declare the Insurrection Act, and we're all going to march on the Capitol, and our great leader will lead us to victory, and all this other bullshit. And within minutes of those instructions to keep fighting, don't worry, our dear leader is going to come through for us. This guy, Kelly Meggs, one of the people on trial? One of the Oath Keepers from Florida. Kelly Meggs, I think he's on trial, signaled he was ready to keep going. Meggs wrote in the chat, "We aren't quitting, we're reloading." Now, that message of squealy little pissant boys on their group chat, that message was shown yesterday to the jury at the trial of 5 of these scum, including both Stuart Rhodes and Kelly Meggs. All of them are facing charges of seditious conspiracy. And that message apparently was one of several used by prosecutors in the trial to show the jury that the group was not deterred from derailing the election, even after the violence that they perpetrated against the United States Capitol and their threats to kill members of Congress. And those threats were absolutely legitimate. So shortly after nightfall on January 6th, one Oath Keeper asked his fellow members on the group chat, well, what'll happen if Congress reconvenes to finish the certification? And Mr. Kelly Meggs provided an answer within minutes. He wrote, we are going back. Oh. And in another message from around that time, Mr. Kelly Meggs told an associate that he and other Oath Keepers had busted into the Capitol that day. That's his word, busted into the Capitol. When that associate wrote that he had hoped to see Nancy Pelosi's, quote, head rolling down the front steps of the building, Mr. Kelly Meggs, this cowardly piece of shit, responded, well, we looked for her. I mean, what do you say about that? Just sitting here using this trial testimony as a source of this particular topic on this particular podcast, it does a couple of things to me. It makes my blood run cold to think about how close we came to an absolute bloodbath on January 6, 2021. The statement by one of the scum on trial for what occurred on January 6, which was this Kelly Meggs saying, we looked for her, when another one of these pieces of garbage wrote that he had hoped to see Nancy Pelosi's head rolling down the front steps. I mean, this is how fucking twisted these people are. But anyway, the focus on what happened after the Capitol attack has become part of the case against these scum now the fifth week of the trial, because the feds are nearing the end of their presentation, and then it will be the defense's turn. The prosecution will probably rest its case this week. And during trial testimony, especially during the first couple of days of this week, the jury in Washington were shown hundreds of internal Oath Keeper messages that advocated violence and terror and death and destruction. And the prosecution has put nearly 30 witnesses on the stand. So if this jury in D.C. does not convict this group of terrorists, I don't know, maybe the jury system is no longer effective. Now, in what the New York Times calls a surprising move, the prosecutors in this case have indicated that they may not call any of the three Oath Keepers who have already pled guilty to seditious conspiracy charges and are cooperating with the government. That probably has to do with whatever agreement that they worked out in order to give the government this testimony. Members of the Oath Keeper, other members of the Oath Keepers, not the scum that are on trial now, have pleaded guilty to lesser conspiracy charges, and they've appeared as witnesses. And it remains unclear, the Times reports, why those who have admitted to sedition, which is what these five are on trial for, may not be asked to testify. I have no idea. A legal tactic that is outside my purview of how this shit works. But anyway, we have a former Oath Keeper who pleaded to conspiring to obstruct the election certification. His name is Graydon Young. He appeared at the trial on Monday, and he started crying like a little boy on the witness stand as he confessed to entering the Capitol in a military-style stack, you saw it on television, of him and the rest of these filthy little pissants. So he's asked to testify, and he starts crying. I'm sorry. Don't spank me. He told the jury this, quote, I was acting like a traitor, someone acting against my own government. Oh, please, Mommy. Oh, God. Now, the leader of this band of filth Stuart Rhodes is likely to be one of the first witnesses called by the defense, of course. And the defense has made it clear, as has Stuart Rhodes, I think, that, oh, yeah, I'm going to testify. I'll get up there. I'm a Yale graduate and fucking former paratrooper. I'll testify. We'll see. We'll see. And prosecutors have made it clear to the jury that as they're nearing the end of their case, they have kind of homed in on the stubbornness of Mr. Rhodes and other oath keepers who were unwilling to give up the attempt to overthrow the government, even after they had been kicked their asses to the curb by the authorities that showed up for these little prick bastards and cleaned the capital of the rats that they are. Even then, according to testimony, they all got together at, what is it? What's the so-called Italian restaurant? Olive Gardens. They all got together at an Olive Gardens restaurant and talked big shit on the night of January 6th. On the morning of January 7th, for example, according to Times, one oath keeper, a guy named Joshua James, wrote to his fellow scum, "It's over, we lost." And one of the oath destroyers from Arizona, a punk ass named Edward Vallejo, wrote, "Like hell, it's over." And this guy, Mr. Like hell, it's over Vallejo, will face sedition charges at a separate trial next month. And Mr. Loudmouth Vallejo was part of a so-called quick reaction force, armed to the teeth. They were staged in a hotel in Virginia, across the river from D.C. And Mr. Like hell, it's over Vallejo proposed conducting renaissance, or I should say reconnaissance. How do you pronounce that word? And he also suggesting they should probe the defense line at the Capitol building on the morning after the attack. And Mr. Loudmouth Vallejo wrote to Stuart Rhodes, "We are at war," all caps. Notice how they use combat terms. We should probe the defense line. We should conduct reconnaissance. What are you going to do? Take a fucking city bus across the bridge, you bunch of punks? We're at war. And then prosecutors also showed the jury messages from some of Popeye, that's my affectionate name for this traitorous dog, Stuart Rhodes. The prosecutors showed the jury messages from some of Popeye's co-defendants, Thomas Caldwell and Jessica Watkins. And they were bragging to their friends about storming the Capitol. And on the evening of January 6th, Miss Watkins wrote to her partner this, quote, "Forced our way into the Senate and House, got tear gassed and muscled the cops back like Spartans." End quote. Spartans? You cowardly fucks wouldn't make the testicle on a genuine Spartan's scrotum, you bunch of assholes. Oh, we muscled the cops back. Well, when you're outnumbered 10,000 to 8, I guess that wouldn't be very difficult, would it, Jessica? Around the same time, the other asshole, Thomas Caldwell, he texted one of his associates a question. This is the question. "Did you see us storm the Capitol today?" End quote. "Hey, Mommy, did you see me win the race?" "Hey, Daddy, did you notice I got a single? I got a hit, huh? I'm on first base now, Daddy. Did you see us storm the Capitol today? Woohoo!" And then he wrote to another one of his friends, "If we'd been carrying weapons, I guarantee we would have killed 100 politicians." End quote. I guarantee we would have killed 100 politicians. Well, apparently they had some sort of communications breakdown because their their quick reaction force across the river was fully armed with more fucking weaponry than one of these oath shredders said he'd ever seen since he'd been out of the military. Why didn't you call your scum-sucking, cowardly little piss ants across the river to bring you your weapons? Because this whole thing, as serious and horrifying as it was for most of these fucking oath keepers nothing but a game. Little boys dressing up like men to play a game. If we would have had guns, I guarantee we would have killed 100 politicians, or maybe more. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.